Every day, commuters lose hours, income, and certainty. Not because traffic exists, but because the system designed to move people is failing. Urban transport in Ghana, whether government subsidized or by private hands, is an economic and social constraint. Elsewhere in Africa, where cities face worse congestion or fewer resources, people are still moved more reliably. In this edition, we ask why Ghana is struggling and what must change. Now, Metro Mass Transit Limited was established for the very problem we see today, a public good meant to provide safe, reliable, affordable, yet fast urban public transport. That public good, now an inconsistent impression on citizens. I am Kemini Amano, and this is Hot Issues. My next guest is the Deputy Managing Director of the MMT, Harun Apau Redu. on it?
Thank you very much to our cherished viewers. I think I will state the root cause of what we are going through to about 2 or 3 thematic areas that we need to consider. The first one has to do with regulation. You know, as it stands now as a country, we all know that Greater Accra today is the most populous region in Ghana. And obviously, we must also plan our transport system in line with population growth and human attrition. As it stands now, I think that we've gotten to a stage whereby we need to be speaking to the Ministry of Roads and Highways to have a dedicated route earmarked for operations of public transport systems like Metro Mass, just as it's happening elsewhere or in the most advanced countries, whereby when dedicated routes are allocated to, so to speak, the operations of Metro Mass. Now, we are in a global era, we are in a technological area, whereby, you know, you can even buy your ticket online, you know, and route points are displayed online. So commuters and passengers do not necessarily have to go and queue. They can monitor from the system online when the first bus will be picking up from, say, Medina to Kimbu, from, say, Adenta to Accra, from, say, Ministries to Circle, or from Circle to Nungwa, or from Nungwa to Tema. But because as it stands now, we don't have a dedicated route earmarked for bus stops for activities of Metro Mass and other state-allied transport institutions like Ayalulu. So it's becoming like the buses are just running around Accra without targeting where the human traffic is and where to park and where not to park, where to pick passengers, where not to pick passengers, because we don't have the regulation regulating the operations and the utilization of the route points in Accra. So by this time, just as it's happening in UK, as you are aware, you can be in the house, say you want to move from, say, Kent to Wolverhampton. You don't need to go and be upstanding queuing. You know when the first bus will be moving from, say, Wolverhampton.
Properly scheduled.
Exactly so to speak.
But as a country, for the last decade, we've been trying to implement the BRT.
Yes.
Why haven't we been able to do that?
I think that was started during if you check, during the first part of the NDC around 2016, thereabouts. I think it all has to do with the political will. And I think that is where we are now. Because somebody feels that, well, in an attempt to enforce this order, persons and individuals who want to take the law into their own hands by running a private transport system, we always want to do what you call the Wawa system, whereby the driver may not want to be loading from the terminal points, maybe as you put it, lorry station. But the lorry stations are regulated. Some of these drivers do not want to be operating from a lorry station. They may just want to be running around the streets, take advantage of the innocent persons and individuals who are for some reasons are stuck looking for the next available car to move. So it all has to do with enforcement, because somebody may think in doing so, those drivers may grow common hatred or a common position against the government. So I think we've gotten to a situation
because there will be a cheaper option.
Exactly so.
Which would have been the MMT.
Exactly so.
I see. And so political interference in the work of the MMT is what has rendered it what it is today.
And again, I told you about 3 thematic areas. The other aspect has to do with management.
Okay.
As we speak, my dear, let's take our viewers a bit into historical account. As you are aware, Metro Mass was established by an Act of Parliament in 2003. But it is also important to state that Metro Mass was birthed out of then defunct OSA. So when OSA was liquidated, OSA transferred their titles and properties to Metro Mass.
That's correct.
And those properties became the foundational pillars for the smooth takeoff of Metro Mass. So when President Kufuor began Metro Mass from 2003, expanding from 2003 to 2008, our fleet level then was about 1,000 plus. By 2009, when first NDC took over, NDC first part took over about 555 operational buses. Now, from 2009 to 2016, NDC augmented our fleet level with about 600 plus. So by 2017, Metro Mass had about 1,100 buses. Out of these, about 600 plus of those buses were actively operational. 500 plus were at various levels of repairs. Currently, the last time when our appointment came in by first week, my boss, lawyer Kali Caesar, when he was appointed first week of March. Then we came in second week of March. When we took over, the reports that I reviewed, it was there that I realized that the current operational average buses of Metro Mass across the whole country is 115. 115. Currently, you are aware that the regional capital points in Ghana is 16. The district capital points in Ghana is over 260. Our population today is far bigger and greater than 20 years ago when Metro Mass was started. So as we speak, surprisingly, Kemi, we are routing the lowest ever fleet of buses in the history of the company. This is also the moment we are recording the highest ever revenue in the history of the company. Just last month, let me take you through this. Just last month.
I see. How are you doing that?
Great. You know, when we came in, His Excellency, the President of the Republic, John Dramani Mahama, gave us a performance contract of 3 months. That as quickly as possible, we should fully automate the activities of Metro Mass, especially our revenue mobilization, just to remove the hand-to-hand contact, the pilfering, because those hand-to-hand contacts gives room for pilfering, leakages, stealing, and all those. So we came to meet an ITMS solution of 45% coverage across Ghana. So within 2 months, we were able to fully automate the system. So currently, we've done about 99% across Ghana. We've been able to move our revenue mobilization. At some point, for the company somewhere 2 years ago, around 2024, they were routing about 250 buses. In some cases, they were recording 9.3 million. And the operational cost of the company then at the time was about 9.6 million. So they couldn't even pay salaries. That was how come at the time, anytime you see stories about Metro Mass, it has been public, it has been workers' agitation, poor conditions of service, poor management here and there. As we speak, currently, when we came with the full automation of our revenue mobilization, it has been back to back. The least amongst all, normally our low peak moments is normally between June and July when the rains are up. Even around that, we are able to record about 13 to 14 million Ghana cedis for routing averagely 115 buses.
115 buses. So as we speak, and it's, you know, you've done a good job over the year based on what you're telling us. But as we speak, you have more scrap buses, more unserviceable buses than you have buses en route. Is that correct?
Yes, I can say that because as we speak, I had wanted to draw you in. Surprisingly, by 2017, when the previous government took the reins of power, Kemi, it will surprise you to know that around 2017, 2018, they declared about 400 plus buses unserviceable. Those buses were scrapped, sold among some persons and individuals associated then to be part of the system then. Then 2 months into the elections, around October, Kemi, could you believe that another 313 buses were sold among some cronies? And surprisingly, when I reviewed the report, I realized that a whole bus of Metro Mass was sold at a paltry 2,500 Ghana cedis.
I see you've been in office for at least 9 months. What are you doing about
Thankfully for us, we commissioned an external auditors to get this issue done once and for all. And they submitted the draft report to us last week for our consideration.
You have found all 300 buses now?
No, we've not found because those buses have been sold to some cronies. And surprisingly, according to them, for selling 313 buses, they generated 2.9 million. And that money was supposed to go into an account called the bus acquisition account.
In what state were the buses when they were sold?
You see, what we realized was that the then management involved themselves in transport business, what we called cannibalization. Cannibalization is becoming like a deliberate attempt because they saw the business in the scrapping of buses as a low-hanging fruit, as a system to milk the system. So what they did was that maybe assuming bus A is packed just because of maybe ties. When the next bus comes in, and the next bus maybe needs say maybe about Bolton North or Springs, instead of them to fix the first bus that requires or needs about 4 ties to be able to move back to the road, they will deliberately put that bus down, take the spring on that bus, use the spring to fix the bus B. So deliberately, they will just be removing those parts from that bus. Then when they get to a certain level, then they declare it unserviceable. And when they declare it unserviceable, then they call somebody to buy the bus, say maybe at 2,500 official fee.
Because all the parts have been taken off.
Yes. You get me, official fee. So whatever happened behind the scenes is just behind the scenes.
Do you have proof that things happen behind the scenes?
No, but Kemi, how can you sell a whole bus?
No, but from your own narration,
yes,
the important parts of the bus had been taken out to service other buses.
Yes.
And I suppose it's because we don't have a system that brings in spare parts for the buses we had bought.
We have a system, but the system was deliberately abused.
So what is the system to get in spare parts?
You see, currently as we speak, we have a well-structured procurement arrangement. Formally, what we're having is that at the branch points, if I say branch, maybe in Kumasi branch, somebody can just put in a requisition that I needed A, B, C, D, E of this spare parts. Nobody goes in there to check whether indeed those spare parts that they required, have those spare parts been used for the purpose upon which they were requested. That is one. Look, when we came as part of our nationwide tour around March, April, we went to Abreport Junction, only to observe that a whole bus was packed. 3 of the buses were packed, just because of one bus needed just about 3 ties, the other one 2 ties, the other one just a spring. Then you ask yourself, why? What is happening? So to the extent that where I was just drawing you in before you brought this question, can you just imagine that since 2008, the conditions of service of our workers was in a sorry state?
We were talking about worker welfare.
Yes.
Hold on, we'll get there, right? I mean, but if you have more broken down buses than actual buses that are on the road, I mean, can we still consider the MMT a transport company, or you're just a storage yard for junk?
Not at all. That's why I said it all depends on management and the new face of handlers managing the place.
But you have more junk than actual buses.
Of course. But that is why it is so surprising to know that.
So here's where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
This company was established to be a public good.
Sure.
So that you can provide safe, affordable, fast transportation for the Ghanaian people.
Yes.
But here we are today, you have more broken down buses than actual buses on our roads. Yes. The impact of that, which I have seen, is that your intracity activity has reduced. Is that correct?
It has reduced because the purpose upon which Metro Mass was established, the key purpose upon which Metro Mass was established, was to serve the underserved communities. And we were given another opportunity to do intra-transport service. So if you look at it...
No, one did not come before the other. It came together that this is what you're supposed to do.
Of course, but the main mandates of us as a company is to serve the underserved communities. If you check, even the buses that we route, those buses are not fit for intra-transport services. If you talk of intra-transport services, those are the EV buses that we are currently having, just about 10 of them.
But we've always used, the buses as we know them for intra-services. That's why we call them the Kufuor buses. So what are you telling me?
No,
I'm just saying one did not come before the other. Those objectives were put down during the establishment of the MMT.
Yes.
My point is that you have abandoned that work of intracity activities, focused on intercity activities because it makes you more money.
Not necessarily. You see, that's why I told you, over the period, we were doing both intra and inter. But within the last 8 years, if you look at the kind of purchases, the kind of acquisitions they did, there was, like you put it, whether it was deliberate, whether it's to shift from the core mandate of the company. How can you tell me you imported buses called Daewoo buses, my dear? And those buses came, first of all, without boot and nut, without spiners, no spare parts, and those are purely electronic buses. You know, electronic buses do not do well on most of our routes because, we used to have challenges with our routes. And when cable A and cable B knocks its heads, obviously the bus will go aground. And those are the buses you see at the head office. Currently, it is not about funding. We have enough funds, but getting the required spare parts is the problem. We are currently having just 2 persons or 2 individuals or vendors who occasionally gives us some of these papers. Those individuals or vendors will have to come to the yard, look for the broken parts. In some cases, they will have to travel with the broken parts to Korea just for the manufacturer to remold that broken parts. When those parts are given to them and they bring it back, in some cases, those spare parts cannot fit the buses. And that is the sorry state of it. So that's why I said, so currently, if you look at the buses that we are fleeting, if, even as we are doing, we are spending so much and we are losing so much because the nature of those buses were not meant or were not designed, were not manufactured to respond to intra-city transport services. Unlike what used to be the case during the days of President Kufuor, during the days of Mills Mahama in 2016. We had a double-decker, But if you bring in like these Daewoo buses, look at the number of hours this bus will have to be in the traffic. And these are intercity transport buses. What's the nature of the bus you are bringing in? Currently, let me also say thank you to His Excellency the President. The President is committed to retooling our company. As you checked somewhere last month, myself and the Deputy Minister and my boss, the Deputy Minister led government delegation to Cairo to have a look at the final branding of the Isuzu buses. And those Isuzu buses are 29-seater. The Isuzu buses compact is about 300 buses. The first, in fact, the supply system has been staggered. So the first phase will come in by last week of February, first week of March. Hopefully, His Excellency the President will commission those buses into operation and it will be handed over to Metromas. Then by June, July, the next phase of 100 bus, making 200 will come. Then the last one, completing the 300 compacts, that we are expected for the last phase to arrive by September, between August and September. Aside that too, we are also bringing in the Toyota Hiace and the Toyota Coaster buses. Right. Those are 15 and 19, so those are 15 and 29 seaters. Those buses to the Toyota Hiace is coming in with about, the quantity level is about 200. Then the coaster buses are 100. As you can see, Kemi, the transport space has evolved. Today, when you go to most of our terminal points, you can go and put a long bus at the terminal points. It takes, in some cases, more than 1.5 hours, 2 hours for that 50-seater bus to be fully loaded. Yeah, well, it depends on where it's headed, but let's take a few steps back, right? When you bring these buses in, then what? When we bring these buses in, the purpose of bringing these buses, first of all, is to retool the company. Because as it stands now, Kemi, we're supposed to be routing about 385 routes, including all the other identifiable routes in Greater Accra. But because our fleet level has gone all-time low, we are unable to route across Ghana. Currently, the whole of Ahafo region, we are not routing. From Achirinsua, Bechem, Gos, Umem, that stretch we are not routing. If you take the northern part of Western region, around Sefi, Asanwesu, Budi, that enclave, we are not routing. Again, if you check Western Volta North, from Nchumuru, Krache, all the way to the northern part, we are not routing because our fleet level has gone down. Now, we have 16 regional capital points. We are only routing just within 10 regional capital points. And day in and day out, the masses, opinion leaders, chiefs, traditional authorities, you name it, day in and day out are calling on us to extend our support services to their needs. But unfortunately, the field level has gone down, like I told you. So that will tackle. Yes. If you bring in those 300 buses, exactly, that will tackle intercity. And intra, God willing. Intra, God willing. Yes. But where will you pass? What do you plan to do about the BRT, or you are going to add to the traffic congestion? Not necessarily. In Greater Accra, we have about 3 terminal points. We have one at Kimbu, one at Adenta, the operational ones, then 1, 2 at Kaneshi. We also have another terminal point at Opera Square. Then directly opposite to Yoko, we used to also have a terminal point. But because the fleet level has gone down, some of those terminal points are just becoming a shadow of themselves. So you shut down your intracity routes. That's exactly what I'm saying. And the reason for that, which I mentioned already, is because it's not profitable. You are not able to move fast because you don't have the BRT.
you don't have the dedicated routes to be able to move as fast as you should. And you are stuck in traffic. And you have a lot of people, but you're stuck in traffic. So it's not profitable. So MMT chose the easy way out and decided that let's do intercities rather, or inter-regions, so that we make more money and stay afloat.
Not necessarily. Currently, as you are aware, we are doing intracity operational 24/7 weekly, daily, monthly in Accra.
MMT is doing that.
We are
I checked your schedule. You don't have intracity schedule.
We have. So let me run you through. We have.
So what are your routes intracity?
Yes, we have. You know, we have 10 EV buses.
Okay.
If you remember, these EV buses were told by then candidate Bamia, former vice president, that somewhere around 27 November 2024, the then government had procured, we were made to believe then government had procured about 100 of those EV buses, if you remember.
Right.
Only for it to turn out that when we came from the books, they only paid for 10, and 10 buses of the 100 compact was supplied. So these 10 buses, they at the time took it as a project. So when we came, we've made it a branch within the scheme of our operations. So now it is a branch operation. So their head office now is at Adenta. So
that's correct.
So we are currently routing some of those buses. We are routing them from Medina, Adenta, all the way to Kimbu. Others are also routing from Kimbu to Tema. Others are also routing from Kimbu to Circle proper. And others too are also routing through, on the La Paz route all the way to Tema. So we've actually divided the 10 buses amongst these strategic route points. However, buses that are routing originally from other regional capital points to Accra, say Kumasi to Accra, Tamale to Accra, Cape Coast to Accra, Wa to Accra, Bolga to Accra, Sunyani to Accra, Kofodio to Accra. When those buses get to Accra, you know, normally they get to Accra around early afternoon, by say between 1-2. When those buses arrive, those buses are supposed to do a layover to the next day. So the next day, let's say at dawn, those buses are supposed to pick passengers who want to be transported from Accra to say back to Kumasi, or Accra to Tamale, or Accra to Wa. When those buses arrive, because of the rush hour movement in Accra, okay, we have rerouted those buses to respond to the rush hour movement in Accra within the next 2 weeks. That has also come with its own associated challenges.
What kinds of challenges?
The challenge here is that, you know, the driver who drove the bus all the way from, say, Wa, brought the passengers to Accra. Obviously, the driver is tired. That driver cannot still be pushed or be allowed or be encouraged to still be driving or doing the rerouting of Accra rush hour movement because he's tired.
So you need more drivers.
So with that, we had to call in for more hands so that when this driver can sleep or can rest so that at dawn, he can then move back to his original bay.
That is not a problem. You have created employment, which is good.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That with this, it has actually given room for what we ordinarily did not anticipate.
Okay.
But we have to confront it.
All right.
You understand me? So when those buses come in, we reroute them to be able to respond to the rush hour movement in Accra. So currently, we are doing some of those buses. You see some of those VDL DAF buses. We're doing some from Kaneshie to Kaswa. You see some from Kaneshie all the way driving to Nsawam. Others are also moving from Kaneshie all the way to Tema. Others are also doing Kaneshie to Kimbu.
All on the restored route.
Yes.
But you know, and again, just briefly, I want to go back to the EV story because I checked from your website, which is where you can go and get a ticket ahead of boarding. And even your EV routes are inactive. In fact, there were only 2 routes that appeared to be active, even though on the website they had said inactive, but I could see the schedules that they were, they had put on the website. Accra, Ashaiman, Accra.
No.
And again, perhaps maybe your website needs updates. Maybe your website needs updates. So I'll go with what you have told me, right? Irrespective of that, it would appear that the MMT operates as an island that is not properly situated in the context that is needed in the country because you do not have the bus rapid lanes. And so all of these things you're saying, you still add to the congestion and the people don't feel the impact. Am I correct?
I will say that if you limit it to only Accra, yes, to some extent you are right. But elsewhere in the country...
No, limiting it to perhaps the urban centers.
Yes. With that, I will agree with you. And that's why I said it all boils down to, or it all as a result of the kind of purchases, the kind of procurement, and the fleet levels that we have.
Wouldn't your biggest problem then rather be ensuring that we implement the dedicated lanes for the buses?
Exactly. That's why when I began my submission, I told you that some conversation behind the scenes is happening between the Ministry of Transport and Ministry of Highways, as you know.
Okay.
Because this is well seated with Ministry of Highways. So there's that conversation. Another level.
When did that start? When did that conversation start?
Very recent.
You've been in office for 9 months and you only started recently.
No, that's why I said when we assumed the reins of power. Because when we came, we have tabled that proposal.
Right.
That we've gotten to a stage where I think that if we had continued the 2016 vision, by this time we should not be talking about this. But it is better late than never. So we can still do something about it. So I know for a fact that some conversations is underway. And it will sit well with the arrival of the new buses,
right,
which are coming. That is why I am telling you.
Which is only March.
Exactly.
So you think that by March we would have the dedicated lanes?
That is our hope.
For a short period in history, we did have the dedicated lanes. And it worked well.
Yes.
And you think that by March we'll have the dedicated lanes again?
And Kemi, one of also the reasons why the BRT system at the time, after 2016, couldn't see the light of day, like I told you, has to do with the political will. You know, elsewhere in the most advanced countries, even when you are driving yourself, you get to a certain point, it is mandated, you have to park your car and join the next available public transport system to wherever you are working or your workplace. So that's why I said we need to sit down as a country, even though that conversation is ongoing. But when the time comes, let us embrace this decision, which may be tabled by governments, because it will be in the best interest of all of us. And Kemi, let me also state this on record. You see, when we brought in those traditional buses, ordinarily, routing outside Accra, but we had to be routing them to meet this rush hour movement as I talked about. We did a study. We placed about 3 buses around Medina Adenta, the 50-seater. Kemi, within the twinkle of an eye, the bus was full. The 3 buses were full. Those buses were moving straight all the way to Accra Central. It took the bus to turn and come back more than an hour because of the traffic situation as we are talking about. So if we check, look at the number of persons and individuals who are driving by themselves, driving their own cars. But when you get to the most advanced countries, at some point you have to park your car and join the next available public transport. And I just want to plead that when we get to that level, the public should bear with us so we can develop the transport space. Another proposal that I have shared on certain quarters has to do with, we've gotten to a stage where we currently need what we called a national transport authority.
A national transport authority. Why do you think we need that?
With the reason being that, as it stands now, Ayalolo is a public transport system, right? But Ayalolo is not under Ministry of Transport. Ayalolo is under Ministry of Local Government. Metro Mass is under Ministry of Transport. STC is under Ministry of Transport. You cannot have 3 strategic state-allied transport companies sitting separately in the books of 2 separate ministries. We know that in Ghana, everything about transport should have been under Ministry of Transport. So if we are to have a national transport authority, that authority will properly regulate the activities and operations of bus operations within the city centers, so to speak, the intra-transport system services. Then again, we can as well deal with the inter-city transport services under one supervision, one control, one direction, one focus, and one mission. With that, there wouldn't be this business of, the ball is played here, the ball is played there. We know where to put the issues to. But as it stands now, as you know, Ayalolo is also doing their best. They have also complained that their fleet level has gone all-time low. And the number of commuters in Accra keeps piling up.
So we can't hold anybody responsible for where the public finds itself today.
So if you have an authority, I believe that we can rather put the issue squarely to the authority. Because the authority will make sure that those who are supposed to handle the intra-city services, they will deal with it. And those who are also supposed to do the inter-city transport services, it will also be dealt with.
As it stands now, what is the structure? And again, the law might say different, or the establishment objective of MMT might say different, but perhaps the practicality would also take a different leg. So as we speak now, whose responsibility is it for the public good of intracity transportation?
You see, currently, as it stands now, it sits well with Metromass.
So it's Metromass that is failing us?
Not failing us, not failing us, so to speak, based on the question that you ask. If you look at Metromass, is the biggest transport company in Ghana. By law, we're supposed to be providing service for intra and inter, as you are aware. STC is only supposed to provide inter-transport services, intercity. Then comes in Ayalolo. And Ayalolo was directly created to respond to these issues that we are talking about.
Right.
So it's like Metromass's power or Metromass's duty, some has been partitioned a bit, so to speak. And that section which has been partitioned or carved out of our jurisdictional or operational mandate, the one that has been carved has been given to Ayalolo to manage. You understand?
Well, you have the political will now. Are there conversations around establishing this transport authority which will properly put all these three organizations into proper context for the good of the public?
Yes, I'm aware that right from before December, some conversations were happening between the two ministries, Ministry of Local Government and Ministry of Transport, just to make sure that we streamline and harmonize the three strategic states allied transport systems, so we'll be able to work from the same page for the common good of the ordinary Ghanaian. And Kemi, like I said, where I was going, you know, for me, I will tell you that Metromass is really a very strategic and a lucrative transport area.
Lucrative?
Yes, strategic and lucrative. That's, I don't see why government should put in so many buses. Then we get to a certain point that the buses cannot pay for themselves to generate more money so we can buy more. When we came in as new management, we took a private vendor's bus, minibus, as a tri-bus, just to test the markets so that it will feed into these 300 buses that we are going to do. So that we'll be in a position to know whether we can pay or we can pay. So that we don't even go in there at all to burden the Ghanaian taxpayer. You know, we took this bus about 6 months ago, this tri-bus that we are still trying. As we speak, we've paid 30% of the total cost of that bus. And from our extrapolation, we're supposed to finish paying these buses by 14 months, maximum. 1 year, 2 months, we should be able to finish paying for this bus. As we speak, within the last 6 months, we've paid 1/3 of the full cost of the bus.
The ones that are coming?
That we are trying, the tri-bus.
The tri-bus?
Yes.
I see.
You get me? And like I told you, currently, as we speak, we've also automated our luggage and parcels. Formerly, before we came, luggage and parcels were just recording about 500,000. Just last month, we recorded about 2.78 million Ghana cedis just for luggage and parcels after it automation. Then I told you, just last month, for routing 115 buses, we recorded over 70 million Ghana cedis in a month. So, assuming...
So are you buying the 300 buses from your own coffers?
Thankfully for us, if you check, those buses do not find or had no expression in the budget presented to Parliament. But the president and the finance minister, so to speak, the government, with us, again with the support of the ministry, had created the enabling environment, giving us all the push and the support. Look, we got commencement authorization letter.
So government is paying for it?
No, not government is paying for it directly. We got authorization letter from Ministry of Finance. We got approval from Public Procurement Authority that, look, on the strength of our own books, judge us within the last 10 months for routing just 115 buses. In some cases, we are making about 15 million Ghana cedis. So you are a vendor. The president says that he will not allow Metro Mass to be used any longer as a dumping site for any unwholesome machines. So we want to stand on the strength of our own books. You are a businessman. You are a vendor. Give us buses. We have the terminals. We have the routes. We have the passenger base. Give us the buses. Let's route the buses. And the buses will pay for itself. Give us 3 years. By 3 years, we would have finished paying. And those buses will become the property of Metro Mass and central government. And that is the package of these 300 buses. That's why I said, with the support of the president and the government.
So Metro Mass is essentially buying its own buses?
Yes.
I see.
To sit on our own books, we will pay by itself. So the spreadsheet is within 3 years. And two, one good thing about this deal again is that the vendor is supposed to insure the buses comprehensively for the first year. So the first year, Metro Mass will not be held liable. We are not paying anything. And this deal did not come with any LC, no bank guarantee, no insurance guarantee, nothing. Just on the strength of our own books. And we got a letter of comfort from our bankers. And that's all. The same applies to the Toyota Haze and the coastal buses. So government really gave us the push, gave us the support and the enabling environment. That look, I'm giving you this commencement authorization notes with the support of Public Procurement Authority, with the support again with our board and management. Go ahead, because you have tried the tri-bus. And the tri-bus within the last 6 months, you've even paid 1/3.
I see. Just a few more things just before we wrap up. You've talked a lot about political will, and we see where it stems from. There's, the private transport operators on one hand, and then there is Metro Mass, which could even have a bigger muscle than the private sector, even though as of now, the private sector serves about 70% of our intracity routes, right? How do you expect government to maneuver that? In fact, how do you plan to maneuver that relationship with private transport operators, the Metro Mass Transit Limited itself, and then that political will that sits with government? What should we do so that everybody gets an equal part of the pie or is happy with the share of the pie that they get?
I think that for me, I don't see any challenge ahead. If we are able to sit around the table, Jojo, and have a beautiful conversation. One, like you rightly put it, let me also state on record that His Excellency the President again has decided, or government has decided, they will, as part of the retooling aspect of Metro Mass, to give us some additional buses, different from the ones that are slated to arrive by March. With the question that you ask, GPI2 can be operating. First of all, GPI2 have, their terminal points. They have their own dedicated routes. You see, in our case as Metro Mass, places that are difficult to go, we are mandated to go by law. That's why I said we are supposed to be a pro-poor to serve the underserved communities. There are so many places that ordinarily GPRTU wouldn't go because of high maintenance, or the cost of high maintenance. Because they think that maybe those routes, first of all, they are not economically strategic. Secondly, those routes too, if you are not careful, the roads are bad. And by the time those buses are able to move to and flow, you have to subject your bus to the mechanical shop.
Essentially, you don't think that your existence threatens the GPRT?
Not at all.
But isn't that the problem? If there is no coordination between GPRT, MMT, and government, so that we can have a proper operation of a public transport system?
Exactly. That's why if you check somewhere last Thursday or so, there was a meeting between central government here is Her Excellency the Vice President, and key players within the transport space, Ministry of Transport, local government, GPRT were invited. All of us were invited for that closed-door conversation to look at how best we'll be able to realign, how best we'll be able to commonly operationalize our movements so that we can serve the people of Ghana.
But the problem is still not solved. It's still there.
No, that's why I said the meeting just happened somewhere just last week because of what you said.
So I understand that. What I'm saying is that despite all the efforts we heard about last week,
yes,
the problem persists. Why? You people couldn't find an immediate solution to the problem?
No, I think, to be fair, I think the problem is getting solved day by day. Because, like I told you, we had also pushed our technical department. As I talked to you, just yesterday, Saturday, I was at the office at the technical department. They've pulled about 10 buses. They've also promised us from yesterday to Friday coming, they will be able to pull another 10 buses from the mechanic points. And those 20 buses are coming to augment the already buses that we are fleeting in Accra, just to be able to, ease down the pressure and the challenges. You understand?
So this week we shouldn't expect to see the
this week
long queues and people jostling for.
This week I think there will be a massive improvement over the past. And Kemi, let us also state it well, because it's like at some point we are missing the points. You see, can you just imagine? Let's ask ourselves: are people queuing around East Legon? Are people queuing around, say, Banana Inn? Are people queuing in around, say, Dansoman areas and co? The rush hour movement, for me, is as a result of the performance of the economy and the government. Look, I took an
people in Legon too are not getting transport.
No, I'm coming.
You must have heard about the Ayawaso West Wagon MP who has decided to find buses for his constituents.
No, there was that collaboration. We had that collaboration.
No, but the point I'm making is that your example does not hold.
No, it
because
holds.
Even people there are also struggling.
No, just hold on. Okay. That's why I said it holds.
Okay.
Has to do with, if we take it like maybe Legon or Pongolo, okay, our bus can get to the Pongolo points, but the rush hour movement, the heat at, say, Medina, the heat at, say, Kimbu, the heat at Accra proper, the heat at Abusukain, and what have you. I took an operational tour to Accra proper, so to speak, Antamanto. Despite the rate at which people are buying, people are selling. And because...
So economic activity is good. I want us to go quickly. You talked about the audit of those 300 buses. Yes. Over the years, we haven't seen anybody held responsible for what happens at Metromas. Obviously, the new administration wants to do something different. And by that, I mean you and your boss want to do something different. What are we going to see happen in terms of holding people responsible for the decay?
You see, the kind of, let me say, crime that has been perpetrated at Metromas, for me, I have said it on so many platforms that should not be swept under the carpet. We shouldn't just gloss over. Other than that, we are just being disservice to the people of Ghana. Can you just imagine around 2018, workers' deductions were made on their pay slips, the monies never reached the service providers, contributions to SNET, Glyco, since 2018. The company was not paying. Salaries were in arrears of 3 months. The last time our workers were appraised was just around 2016. As we speak, we are paying the arrears of 2018 and paying the arrears of and current as well as interest. As we speak, we have also cleared the 3 months arrears. As we speak, we've increased the salary of our workers, the critical staff by 25%, senior staff by 20%. So like I told you, the auditors have completed their draft reports. They submitted their draft reports just last week. I have a copy, and others also have a copy. We're supposed to review it by the close of this weekend. By next week, it will be fine-tuned, and I believe that they will submit the report to us, and we will upscale it to the authorities that be for some prosecutorial action to take place.
DMD, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you, Kelly.
Harun Appel, Redu is Deputy Managing Director of the Metro Mass Transit Limited. He's promised a better week as far as public transportation is concerned here in the capital city. Let us know how that goes. This is Hot Issues. I'm Kemeni Amano. I'll see you same time next week. Bye-bye.